D'Angelo's here in Boardman. It is the South Range Raiders show. DJ Yoakley and the head ball coach of the South Range Raiders, David Rach, joining us as he does each and every week. And as muggy as it is out here, Coach, man, you guys were fire on Friday night. A 41-3 victory over Warren JFK, your second one this season. You go to 2-1 on the year. When you think about the preparation for that game, obviously a little bit more bounce back and a little really – From the optimal view up in the press box, you guys look like you were out and on a mission.
Yeah, I think, anytime you're coming off a loss, it becomes a challenge in terms of trying to refocus yourself and recenter yourself and just keep on plugging away. But I was really proud of the effort, and I was really proud of the week of preparation we had. And I think it showed Friday night. I thought we played a pretty clean game. And, one thing I think that we were trying to guard against is sometimes, coming off a loss, you want to get back in there so bad that you make aggressive mistakes and you kind of lose a little bit of poise. And I thought we did a good job of centering ourselves and playing within ourselves and not pressing and taking care of business.
I think one of the most interesting things about it was I got a chance. We for once in our life, we got things set up, tested on time. I got down to the field, got to talk to you for a little bit, talk to Coach Foster and a couple other coaches, and they said, boys, you're in for a running game tonight. So
yeah.
You've got JFK on one side. They love running the ball. And you guys wanted to establish dominance in that offensive line. It obviously went well. I mean, you guys were running basically at will, especially from that first series on down. What was so important about establishing the run against Warren JFK?
I mean, I think for us, we've talked from day one about wanting to establish a run game
Sure.
and then to be a defense that really makes it hard to run the ball on us. I think if you do those two things, you have a chance, every game and no matter who you're playing. So it's been a point of emphasis for us, and it's been something that we're working on, and I think we've done a good job of that in all three games. Even the Green game, I think we run for 260. So it's a big part of what we do. I think culturally we really believe in it. Our kids love doing it, and it's something we work really hard at.
Blake, Aiden, Luke got in there a little bit. We saw multiple. I think 4 or 5 backs got touches, especially late on in the game. When you have your guys that are just ripping yardage, 7-8 yards a carry, that's got to, as a coach, that's got to make you feel good, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think anytime, you can lean on a defense like that and force them to tackle guys. And, our backs do a really good job, I think, of wearing down opponents. And we're lucky that we have some depth there. And the offensive line did a good job. I think, anytime you're really making a point to run the ball, it's really goes on 11 guys, whether it be a quarterback carrying out a fake or receivers blocking downfield or, or the line, opening up holes. So and I thought they did a good job of that. I think, again, it's important to us in terms of controlling the tempo of the game and trying to establish ourselves physically. And so I was proud of that.
I really was impressed by the size of JFK out of the locker room. I mean, they had some big boys, and you mentioned it last week. You were going to have to get started early and often. Defensively, I mean, you're a defensive-minded coach on that side. What did you see that you were real proud of your guys that they established early and were able to dominate? I mean, they scored that first field goal on the first drive, and that was it.
Yeah, I think, the first drive took us a minute to get settled in. I think part of it is what you said. They were really big up front, and some of their splits were so condensed that it took us a second to get the flow and the tempo. But I felt like as the game progressed, we got into a better rhythm defensively and really started playing fast the way we want to. And I was really pleased. I think all of our coaches were really pleased with the way the defense settled in, after that first drive and really played, I thought, at a high level. They were physical, they were aggressive, and they were swarming to the ball. And those are the things that we think is, what it takes to have success on that side.
When you look at, from the week of practice, I know there was a tough practice on Thursday. It wasn't exactly what you guys wanted. So when you look at that, what did you see transpire between Thursday and Friday and these guys and just wanting it?
Just an increase in their level of focus. I think to be fair to our guys, we had a bad Thursday practice, but I think part of it is that those guys it had been a long week for them too.
Sure.
And they couldn't wait to get back out there again and try to improve and try to put on a show as best we could. And a lot of times I think they're kind of in pre-race mode or pre-fight mode on a Thursday where they don't want to be talked to. They don't want to hear you. They're ready to go, and sometimes they need a little bit of space. So I don't think it was for lack of effort. They didn't go out and plan on having a bad day, and we didn't have as coaches, we didn't plan to go out and have a bad day either. Sometimes I think a game kind of makes everything right, and that probably helped ease some of our frustration.
And there was no school last week. So is it hard to keep the focus when there's no school? You got the fair. It's hard to keep track of your guys a little bit.
Yeah, I think anything that breaks up the routine, no matter how small it is, can be a challenge. Even this week, we're back to school this week for the kind of the first day of school, just the way our schedule sets up. So we've had to guard against that and just trying to get back into a more normal routine and try to refocus ourselves. So I think that was probably part of it, and then obviously it was warm. So there's a lot that goes into it and a lot that I think you're doing your best to try to juggle and make sure that we're locked in as much as we can be when we need to be.
I think that for me, it's interesting to watch things play out, especially the relaunch of school, right? So you guys, the official start of school was today, official, right?
Yeah.
So to be almost 4 weeks into the football season and your first day of school, is that weird for you?
It is weird, just from a scheduling standpoint. A lot of our coaches, myself, have been around this program for so long, and the way the schedule sets up differently this year has been a challenge. It used to be, I could kind of look at a schedule and tell you, hey, on August 25th, we're going to be doing this. And so we've had to adjust things. And then with Fair Week, we have so many of our kids that are involved in 4-H and showing animals and stuff. So we're trying to juggle, when can we get the most guys at practice? And so that's been a challenge. But, I think our kids do a great job of just adapting to the changing schedules and showing up when we need them to show up and making accommodations as much as they can. Now,
I heard a rumor over the weekend that Coach Yeagley was seen walking a cow around the Canfield Fair.
Showing it. Show.
he can't lose anymore.
No.
It's incredible. I love it. I told him, I said, you're still undefeated.
Yeah.
Even in retirement. It's incredible.
He's going to parlay it, man. Let it roll.
When does that come for you? That moment, when do you get to start showing animals at the Canfield Fair?
You know what? I grew up in the country, but not on a farm. So I would be pretty intimidated, I think, walking a cow around. Like any of those big animals, I think, scare me pretty good. So probably not in the near future, but I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things with some practice. I'll try it out.
Is there an animal that you would show that exists out there? Chicken, pig?
No. Well, I rode a horse one time in actually it was a mule, but I rode him in
you rode a mule?
Bryce Canyon. Yeah, I was too heavy to get on the horse or on the pony, so they put me on a mule. But I felt pretty comfortable on there, so maybe I'll show one of those if I could ride it.
Show a mule.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways we can go with that joke.
Sure. there's a joke there somewhere.
This week.
Yeah.
NE8 week, man.
Yep.
This is a conference that I've been talking about. Hey, you have to watch this conference. Everybody wants it this year. Target's obviously planted on your chest and your back this year. A lot of teams out for you. All 7 of them, to be honest, or all 6 of them rather. So when you're looking at a Lakeview team that everybody has seemingly looked over to this point in the year, you even sat down and you said, we're in for a dogfight this year.
Yeah.
What do you see in Lakeview that you think could present problems for you?
Well, I would say anybody that's overlooking that team hasn't seen them on tape.
Yeah.
I think they do a really good job. You can tell Coach Bush is doing a great job over there. I think I talked to our kids before they got out today and said this team has an identity. They know what they're doing. They know what they're trying to do. I think they're physical. Very physical up front, and I think their skill kids can really run. They do a good job of getting the ball in space and making you tackle, and they've got obviously a quarterback that's really tough to get on the ground. And then defensively, I think they're multiple enough and aggressive enough that they can present some issues there. So they're a good football team, and like you said, the whole Northeast 8, I'm sure, is good. I've seen some scores, and the conference has done well, in their out-of-league schedule, but we're excited for the challenge this week. And again, I think they're a good football. I know they're a good football team, but I think our kids are up for the challenge.
When you look at the goals and things that you guys set aside, we're going to be 4 weeks in here on Friday. What goals? Where does the NE8 championship reside on that list of team goals?
You know what? It's up there. I'll say this though: we don't talk a whole lot about long-term goals.
Sure.
We really don't. I think our kids believe, and I know I believe in trying. Our most immediate goal is trying to get better tonight. Trying to hydrate tonight, and then trying to hydrate in school tomorrow, and trying to have a great day tomorrow. So, I know it sounds cliche, it's boring to talk about, but that's really what we believe, and that's what we're sticking to. We're trying to get better. We're trying to have the best Wednesday we can have tomorrow.
Hydrate, huh?
Yeah,
I've heard that one before.
Yeah.
What do we have to look out for Lakeview? What do they have that's special?
I think they're very fast at all the skill positions, and I think they're experienced. When you go down their roster, there's a bunch of guys that are 2- and 3-year lettermen that are coming back, and Good size up front. I mean, they're very good up front. I think they've really dominated all three teams that they've played so far up front. And then the quarterback's is a load. I mean, he's tough to get on the ground. I think he's explosive. He finishes runs well, and I think one thing that jumped off the film to me was just the speed at which they get into routes, get in and out of routes, and the speed at which the backs get on the perimeter to even block. So you can tell they have an identity. They're coached up and they're working really hard on the specific things and the intentional details. And so again, they're not going to beat themselves. I think last year, it's 14-0, and I think our offense had the ball 2 plays. They take a knee on a punt, and then we get an onside kick recovered, and it felt like they kind of let the game get away before they had given themselves a chance. Where they're not that team this year. They're not going to beat themselves. You're going to have to show up and beat them for 4 quarters. So, and I know our kids are excited about that challenge.
A third of the way through the regular season, health-wise, where do we stand?
We're as healthy as we can be. I mean, we've been fortunate, not just this year, but in years past, of avoiding the major stuff. And our kids have done a great job, I think, of preparing their bodies in the off season for the grind that is our schedule, and then just taking care of their bodies right now in season in terms of they're doing the yoga and they're doing the still in season lifting and trying to hydrate, those kinds of things, the little things that add up. But
it's weird.
So knock on wood,
keeps coming.
So far so good.
When you look at just the progress of the program, I mean, what things has anything stood out to you and surprised you from being defensive coordinator to head coach that you're like, wow, okay, I need to be ready for that this week, or I need to be ready for this, that you've seen kind of materialize week after week after week?
Yeah, I've had a hard time of keeping track of game management stuff when we're on offense. I'm so used to looking at it from a defensive perspective that it's taking me some time to get in the flow of the game in terms of timeouts and arguing with refs. I'm never arguing with refs when we're on offense. I'm not even paying attention a lot of times. So that's been a challenge. But no, it's been good. I have to be on the ball a lot more in terms of penalties and that kind of stuff. But again, I have it easy. I have a really good staff, around me that I rely on for things that you'd never think of.
Yeah.
That allows me to, free myself up and do what I'm comfortable doing, which is coaching ball, So without those guys, I'm sure I'd be swimming.
I was really interested. I was having a conversation with someone about another coach of yours, and they said to ask you about him and what he means to you, Coach Haycock.
Yeah.
I mean, talk to me about what you know about Coach and what he means to you, and essentially, how he guided your vision here as well.
You know what? He off the field, he was like a father figure to me. He was a lot like Dan was to me.
Yeah.
He just, went out of his way to help me develop as a person and a player. In terms of, on the field stuff, I mean, he's, I'm sure I'm biased, but I really believe that he's as good a football coach as there is in the country. I mean, I think when he took over as defensive coordinator, his final year at Youngstown, I think I learned more about defense in about a half hour with him than I had learned in my entire life previously and since. I mean, he just really does a good job of making the game understandable. And but yeah, he's just had a huge impact, on my life and I know on Coach Bush's too. I know he's really close to him. I know Coach Haycock sent him a message, when he got hired, and so they're very close. Derek played for him, was a great player at Youngstown. So I think I'm on a very long list of people that Coach Haycock has impacted in that way.
When you look at the relationship with you and Coach Haycock, you said 1 year, right?
I had him. He was a coordinator for 1 year,
okay.
But I had him for 3.
3 years. Okay,
yeah.
So how was he different? You said that like you learned more about defense in half hour. So like, how do you? Is it just the way that he taught? Is it the way that he, the relationship you had? What was it?
Yeah, I think it was both things. I think for me, he looked at the game of football and defense in general from a very macro perspective. In terms of understanding numbers, understanding spacing, and really the big picture stuff that I think was very helpful. And then just little things, knowing where your help's at, and attention to detail, and coaching the finer points and why they're so important, I think made a big impact on me.
All right, you ready to go off the field?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. I don't know.
I don't have a good one. I don't have any zingers. This isn't
all
a
right.
trap question at all.
Okay.
I know you're a huge family guy. You mean every day. I mean, you're here with my family.
Yeah.
Then you go over and talk to yours before we
Yeah.
go on every week. How important are they? I mean, I know you're huge into you bring them every week, and very similar to the old ball coach that you had before. Talk about your family, what they mean.
Yeah, I mean, they I can't. Yeah, I mean,
David had 5
yeah.
recesses today, so I know
Yeah,
you're worn out.
yeah, no, they're obviously my world. They know that, and I think a lot of times people don't realize what they sacrifice, um, in order for me to do what I love to do. And luckily now they're getting old enough and they can come to stuff like this, and I know they enjoy it. A lot of times it's one of those things I feel guilty or I feel selfish not spending as much time with them as what I want to and what I'm sure they would want to, but they just kind of let it roll right off their shoulders, and it's probably what makes it, all the more special when we do have some time to get together in an environment like this. And no, they're and my wife Julia,
She's awesome.
yeah, I can't say enough about what she does to allow me to do what I want to do. I mean, there's so many things off the field that she's taking kids to soccer and gymnastics and making dinner when we get home and waking us up and doing laundry and just stuff that I'm a really bad husband in that respect. I just don't have the time, and she understands that. And that the cool part is I know they're going to love me no matter what happens on Friday night. And I've already had to learn that that lesson, what it feels like, and just knowing that they're going to be there, and that, they're just glad Dad's home. They're still excited to see me no matter how good or bad we played.
Well, that was the proof's in the pudding. Every time you walk through that door, I hear "Daddy" real loud. Is there a better feeling in the world?
I think she's saying Gavin.
Oh,
but yeah, no, she's
she
excited.
got me.
She's excitable. She's excited to see me, and it's cool that that the kids are able to get to know our football players. And I'm so proud of our football players and how they interact with not just my kids but the whole community. And I want my kids to grow up around winners and tough kids and tough families. And I couldn't be luckier to be in the position I am, that my kids are able to be influenced by some really great people.
Awesome. Coach, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Good luck this week against Lakeview.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
We'll be back right after this on the South Range Raiders Show on your Sports Network.